project coordinator, I guess you say. I want to introduce you to my crew here. Over here is Bill Balda. He's one of our district biologists and works up in the northern counties here. He's been with our Falcon project since it started in 1993 and has had a lot of experience with falcons. The three ladies I have over here, this is Melissa Gray and Tracy Hurst and Jenny Moses. These are the women who are going to be our half-site attendants this summer, and what that means is they will be the surrogate falcon parents for the entire summer. And this includes very early hours from 6 a.m. to about 9 o'clock plus at night. And they will be feeding and watering and tracking these falcons and making sure that everybody learns to fly and disperses out of the area on time. What I'll do is just tell you a little bit about the Falcon project in general. I know many of you probably heard a little bit about it. I know the falcons have been in the news up in Louisville because we have our first documented nesting pair of falcons since the late 30s. It's a very big deal. Falcons are an endangered species. They have been endangered, listed in an act prior to the endangered species in 1969 and were officially listed as endangered in 1973. The reasons their population declined really was for a variety of reasons, but the number one was careless use of pesticides. One in particular called DDT was used widespread after World War II, and that particular chemical was very devastating to falcons and other birds of prey because not only was it a poison that could kill them outright, it severely impacted their reproductive capabilities. And what it did was made female falcons incapable of making hard eggshells in their bodies. And when they laid eggs, they were laying eggs that were so thin that the shells would break when they were incubating their young. And in some parts of the world, especially over in Germany and the Netherlands, the DDT contamination was so bad, sometimes eggs were being laid with no shells on them at all. So if people had not stepped in to help the peregrine falcon, it surely would have gone extinct. In our country, by 1975, there were only 39 nesting pairs of peregrine falcons in the lower 48 states. All 39 of those pairs were located west of the Mississippi River. So we had zero. Falcon restoration in the East began in the early 80s, and the way that we've helped falcons is to utilize the people like falconers who could raise young falcons in captivity, and then we release them into the wild in a process called hacking. And hacking just means taking a young bird, putting it in an artificial nesting situation, letting it mature to the point where it's able to fly, and then we release it. And that's what has really made the comeback of the falcon come to reality. There have been quite a few falcons released in this part of the state. In Kentucky so far, we have released 46 falcons, and we're already starting to see the successes of our program. Probably is going to be 3 males and 2 females. You can tell by looking at their feet and by their size. But most birds of prey females are about a third larger than the males, and we can tell that by looking at these little critters. What we'll do is get them out, and the first thing we will do, we'll remove a little yellow band that the falconer puts on their legs when they're born to help track them. It has a number on it, lets us know who their parents were. We take that off, and then we put our own hardware on them ourselves. We put this little bitty aluminum band on it. This is issued by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. This has an 8 to a 9-digit number on it that numbers this bird as a unique individual. The next thing we do is put a black and red band on their left leg. What this does is identifies this falcon as a bird that was released in the eastern United States. And both of these things were required to do by federal law. One other thing that we do is a little extra feature here is put on radio transmitters. And what these are temporary units that fit around the bird's leg. It's just like a leather bracelet that fits on right around the ankle of their right leg. And this will stay on for about 2 weeks. And at that point, it will fall off. It only stays on about 2 weeks because that's the time when they're learning to fly and they're a little bit clumsy. When people think of peregrine falcons, they think of very majestic, soaring, beautiful, fast birds. You might have heard that falcons are the fastest animal on the face of the earth. They can dive at 200 miles an hour. When they come out of the box, they're pretty pathetic. They're dumpy, they fall, they make mistakes. And these transmitters are kind of an insurance policy for us. This is a $90 unit that we're putting on a $1,200 bird. So you can see we're definitely coming out of the better end of the deal. But knowing that these are units that might be necessary to help us prevent accidents on their point, we put fake ones on. These are fake transmitters. There's nothing to them. This is a replica of what we will put on them prior to their release. We do this because falcons, like most birds of prey, are innately curious. They pick and pull and have been known to yank antenna out, pull batteries out. We put this on it so they can get used to it and tear up the dummy transmitter before we put on the real unit. The next thing we do is spray paint their wings. And we do this so we can identify the birds better once they're in flight, when they're released out of the boxes. This is non-toxic spray paint. The birds will pull at it, and they'll be losing a lot of the white downy feathers that they have on their body right now. As that downy feather are replaced with flight feathers, we might have to do a little touch-up paint before they're released. The last thing we do is we give them a little drink of water in their mouth, because they will probably be vocalizing quite loudly when we take them out, and give them a little bit of water on their feathers to keep them cool. It's a little bit stressful for them when we do take them out of the boxes. From here, we will be taking them up on the roof of one of the buildings here, and we'll be putting them in 2 different hack boxes, which are just artificial nesting structures. And there's bars on the front of these boxes, and they will stay in there approximately 10 days. It depends on how fast they mature and whether we have males or females. The females take a little longer because they have to get bigger. But we put them in those boxes, and then the day before we release, we put on their real transmitters, give them a little coat of spray paint, touch up, and then we let them out of their boxes. And from there, we can expect to see them hang around in the area probably until about mid-August. And at that point, they will migrate, just like other birds of prey and other neotropical migrants in general. They can move around, and our hopes are that by constantly releasing falcons in central Kentucky and also putting up nest boxes in the area, that we can attract the birds back to the area and hopefully set up another nest site here for our number 2 nest site in Kentucky. So I will start here by grabbing a bird, or it'll grab me. Let's see which. Feel free to come up closer if you have a camera and you want to get a picture. It's approximately 34 days old. We don't have the paperwork, so we're talking about 5 weeks. Need to get the number off this RWO band. That's just the band. This is about as big as they're going to get. The birds of prey get close up to their adult size very rapidly. The ways that you can tell differences in age is largely in their plumage. They change quite a bit in their first year. That's something I neglected to say. These birds, you can see that the flight feathers that are coming in are kind of a brown and a buffy color. They'll have that plumage for about a year. Now, as adults, the dark brown feathers that are on their back and the buffy colored feathers will change drastically. Their backs will become a slate-colored gray. The area underneath their chin, about where their chin would be if they had one, would be a very stark white. And their feet and the fleshy part of their beak, they tend to want to kind of call their nose, that becomes a bright mustard yellow, the color of your visitor's hard hats here. And I'm not exaggerating, it's really a bright yellow color.
This will be 2206 3502.
sounds that the vultures are making. Come on.
And we blow it off with steam. Okay. The tow is polarized like a copper pouch. It's that line. As it blows to the furnace, of course, it hits our fire pump. And we have steam running through our unit all the time. And our pressure to the turbine is 2,400 pounds at about 1,005 degrees. And this is spinning our turbine out there at 3,600 RPM.
We got started down in Lexington and just kind of followed them along. So as long as they'll have us, we'll help them out. So, but they do a good job, and every last one of them's